So it has been a crazy last couple of days with so many unboxings, so many products. But I think of all of them, this is the one I was the most excited for, and this is the one I've saved for last. And that's, of course, the iPad mini. And the mini has been a product that I have genuinely been waiting for I want to say years. So I have the 4th generation iPad mini, and I love this little thing. It's fantastic, and I've wanted to upgrade it forever. The problem was when the 5th generation came out, I was like, I don't know, it's too similar to this. There's only a slight processor upgrade, and there's Apple Pencil support. Do I really need it? And I didn't buy it when it came out. And then ever since, the itch for one of them just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But the problem was that they are never discounted. They always sold at full price, and the used market for them was even weirder because they were always only like $20 or $30 less than a brand new one. So I honestly could never find a deal that justified the older design, and I wasn't going to pay full price for it because I didn't buy it at launch. So I was in this weird dilemma of waiting for years for a new iPad mini. And every year, I think for the last 2 years or 2.5 years, every time there was an Apple product launch, the iPad mini was rumored. We're going to have a new mini. We're going to have a new mini. We're going to have a new mini. And it never came until now. And now that I've wasted at least a minute and a half of your time, I'm just going to get right into unboxing it because I'm so excited about this. So I've got the purple iPad mini in 256 gigs, and I was really frustrated that there was only the 256 gig option or the 64 GB option. I really would have been okay with a 128 gig option. I didn't want to go for 64. I didn't want to go for 256, but for the sake of longevity, I decided to just swallow the bitter pill and pay the $150 extra for the 256 gig because this is a $500 iPad for 64 gigs, $650 for 256 gigs, and it's honestly a hard pill to swallow to buy the 256 gig, especially given that it becomes so dangerously close to the iPad Air, which is a $600 device, but also same issue, that only comes with 64 gig standard too, so that's a different story, but I'll talk about that later. So let me go ahead and lift up the box because I just want to see what's inside. And I got the purple one if I didn't mention it before. I liked all the colors, but the purple just felt like it was the coolest. If I was given a second option, probably the Starlight would have been the one I would have gone for besides this. So iPad sits front and center. I'm going to lift this out, put it to the side for a second. Man, this is so light and so... it almost feels like a little chopping board because it's so flat and... Dang, I like this. Okay, I'm going to put this off to the side. Look at that. The box has a little cutout for the camera. How cool. So let's lift up the information packet. Let's see if there's anything of interest in here, but I doubt it. iPad mini. Welcome to iPad mini. Just the tips and tricks guide. What else do we have in here? I'm really hoping for color matched Apple stickers. I've never gotten color matched Apple stickers, and that's disappointing. This is just the information packet, and then last but not least, we have white Apple stickers, so not color matched. I think the only one that you can get color matched stickers with right now is the iPad. No, not even the iPad Air. The I want to say the MacBooks. The new MacBooks have color matched stickers. I think that's the only one. I can't even recall anymore. It's weird. The MacBook Airs in particular, I think. That being said, there's a 20-watt charge brick right in the box, which is, as I've said before, it's unfortunate that I even have to mention this because now it's become like a luxury for some reason when a charger should not be. And you've got a cable as well, which is a USB-C to C because the new iPad mini ditches Lightning for USB-C, which I'm okay with. I really don't mind either way. I'm okay with it being Lightning or USB-C because I honestly have so many of both of them now that as long as it's one of those two, I have a cable for it. I don't have to worry about it. But if it's not one of those two, that's the problem. So, okay, putting the box off to the side. And before I do, I just wanted to point out a really nice little thing. So all the iPad mini text and the Apple logo is matched to the color of the iPad you buy. So that's such a cool touch. Apple always does this, and I just didn't want to forget to mention it. It's just a really nice little touch. So let's look at the iPad itself. It comes in this paper, I think recycled plasticky thing. And then look at that. The purple is actually way deeper in person than I thought it would be. It looks really good. I thought it would be a very light purple, but no, this is a very significant purple. Way darker than the iPhone 11 and 12. Like this almost looks like a dark gray. If you look at it right now, it just looks like a dark gray more than a purple in most lighting. Like, yeah, in this angle, it looks like a dark gray, not a purple. In this, a little bit, there's a hint of purple, but I like this. This is almost like space gray with a drop of purple in it, which is fantastic. It feels really nice in the hand. It does have that very familiar iPad Air design. You've got your speaker grills at the top. Volume buttons have now been moved to the top as well, along with the power button with Touch ID. Nothing on this side, and this side has the connector for the Apple Pencil 2. So this does have Apple Pencil 2 support now, unlike the previous generation, which only had Apple Pencil 1 support. Apple Pencil 2 is just, the charging method is so much more convenient, and honestly, just having it on there is way more convenient than the older version. So the camera bump also is very reminiscent of the first generation, the second gen, no, in fact, the third generation iPad Pro. Man, I'm losing count of how many iPads there have been. So the third generation iPad Pro had a very similar design, and this is exactly what it almost looks like that in a very small version. So let me go ahead, power this on, and see what the display looks like. So this does have very similar bezels to the iPad Pro and Air lineup now. Once the screen turns on completely, you guys will be able to see. But they are really nice. There's that camera, FaceTime camera at the top. There you go. And you guys can see I can pretty much hold this one-handed and almost use it one-handed too. Not all the way one-handed, but it is still a possibility. So what I'm going to do now is take a couple minutes, set the iPad up, mess around with it, and come back and give you guys my initial impressions on the iPad Mini 6. So I just spent the last hour or so checking out the iPad Mini, playing around with it, testing out all the things that I was curious about, and I have a lot to say. So let me start off and talk about the design itself. I love the design. It's very iPad Pro-esque, and I love the iPad Pro design, so this fits right in. And I definitely love the size. It's so comfortable to hold. I can very comfortably use this one-handed. Even though I think maybe saying very comfortably is a little bit of a stretch, but very comfortably for a tablet, I can use this single-handed. And even two-handed, this is so comfortable in landscape mode. I can easily type out things, and even with this, it's a very comfortable device to use. And honestly, I would prefer to travel with this iPad than my iPad Pro because of how convenient it is just to have around and use in kind of just on-the-go settings. But with the size, I did notice one thing. It's just Apple has seemed to kind of make a weird decision with iPadOS where a lot of space is wasted and everything is crammed in. So all this is wasted space, and I assume it's done because they want you to limit things on this side. That's what I thought initially. But then when I put it up into the normal mode, it's also cutting off things here. So they could easily spread this out and make it look a lot nicer than it looks right now. It just seems like it's already a small screen, right? So imagine this on a small screen. It just feels way too claustrophobic. They could easily spread this stuff out. And I don't know why. There's no valid reason to me for why there's so much space left on these sides when they can all be spread out just a little bit. Also, the dock definitely does feel a little bit crowded and congested here, especially when you get a lot of recent apps open. It just doesn't feel very, I don't know. The small screen size definitely does bring in its own issues, but you can turn off the recently suggested app to make it look a little bit bigger, but that's another thing altogether. Moving on, I want to talk about Touch ID. So this is one of the first iPads or any Apple product actually I've had that has Touch ID on a power button. In fact, I just realized that's a lie. No, I have the MacBook. My MacBook has a Touch ID that's built into the power button, but this is my first mobile Apple device that has a Touch ID sensor built into the power button, and it's actually a little bit, I don't like the way it's designed. It's because this is a Touch ID 2 sensor, so it is super fast. So I'm just gonna hit the power button to turn on the screen, and you'll see that it'll already unlock. So right there, you'll notice it. Let me just turn it off, 1, 2, and you guys can see already it's unlocked. So that's how blistering quick it is. It is super quick to unlock. The problem is that you have to rest your finger for it to open. There's no setting that will allow you to just immediately have it open if it recognizes your fingerprint, which I would have preferred. Even just the rest to open that you guys see right here, this is like a feature you have to turn on. It's not enabled. What usually would happen is it unlocks and then you have to swipe up, which is a little bit annoying. I would have just preferred, like, the second it recognizes that my finger's been, if my finger's been recognized, just unlock the iPad for me. I don't want to have to sit on the home screen or have to hold down my finger to the power button for longer than I have to. So as I said, the volume buttons have been replaced to the top. And a cool thing that I did notice, though, is that, I was thinking, how are they going to make it work when you're, changing orientations? But they make it work. The power buttons are not like up or down marked specifically, so they'll kind of adjust as you need them to. So right now I have it like this, and the top button is obviously my volume up button. But if I turn the iPad around, the same top button now becomes the volume lowering button. So it kind of changes as you have your orientation changed. The same button doesn't do the same thing, which is great. It is very intuitive, and every time you're not going to get it wrong. Like, if you're trying to adjust the volume while you're using the iPad, you're going to get it right. Like, the one that's on top or to the right side is always the one that increases the volume, which makes a lot of sense just use case wise. So then I want to talk about just the dimensions of this. So this is actually one of the smallest iPad minis ever. In fact, not one of the smallest iPad mini ever, because here I have the previous smallest mini iPad, which is the 4th generation, which shares the size with the 5th generation as well. And when you put them side by side, you'll notice that the older generation iPad mini is actually bigger. So let me go ahead and swap that around, and you guys will be able to see if I have them stacked bottom to bottom flat like this, the iPad mini is like a good half-inch taller than the new iPad. And it's just a hair thicker too, like thicker in the sense wider. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say thicker, I meant wider. So it is just a little bit wider, but more so because of the way this is designed. It has that curved design, so it does come out just a little bit compared to this, which has the flat edges. But the flat edges also mean that this iPad feels thicker in the hand compared to this because of the curved edges and design. It just feels a little bit more, it feels thinner in the hand, even though they are pretty much equivalent in thickness comparatively. The display, as I said, it is such a big improvement, because here, I'll just put them side by side, the displays, and you'll be able to see, like, there is a big difference. Even though this is smaller, you can clearly tell this feels like there's just so much more room for activities on here. It looks absolutely awesome. Then I want to move on and talk about another thing that comes with your display or an iPad in general, and that is multitasking. So multitasking on this iPad is actually something that I was a little bit, I'll just say, concerned about, because the smaller size does mean that multitasking becomes infinitely harder. You do want a bigger screen to be able to put multiple windows on there, but after using it and multitasking a little bit, I was absolutely proven wrong, and I'll show you guys. So I have this video going, so what I'll do is I'll put it into picture-in-picture, which you can do on iPads, and then what I'll do is I'll just go to, say, apple.com, and let's just go look at, I don't know, the iPhone 13. Let's learn more, and let's find a paragraph in the tech specs that I wanted to look at. So let's just say I'm making notes for a video. So I see this point right here that I find very interesting, which is the display has rounded corners that follow a beautiful curve, blah, 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 whatever it is. This is something I actually want to make note of for a video I'm making. So what I can do is I could do this, I can highlight it, and what I'll do is I'll hit the top button here, and I can open up a second window. And in this, what I'll do is I'll actually, before I do anything, I'll go look at my calendar just to see when I can make this video. So I want to make a new video, and I'm doing research for it. So October 1 looks good. But while doing that, I'm like, oh yes, let me go ahead and copy this over, the information that I was looking at before. So I can swipe up, I can create this quick note, copy it over, hold down, copy it over, and be like, for iPhone review vid. So now, of course, if you have an Apple Pencil, it makes life a lot easier, but since I don't, I was just using my finger, and you get the idea. If you have an Apple Pencil, it's even quicker to take these quick notes. I can tap done, the note is gone, my video still stays right there, and it's awesome. And the reason the video stopped is because the video was over, so I restarted it. It wasn't the video stopped if you bring up quick notes, just want to make that clear. And it's finally good that Apple lets you kind of change up this app without it being an annoyance, because they used to be like, oh, you can't choose this app. You have to just choose whatever's on the dock or drag and drop. But now you can just go to the home screen, and whatever app you want, you can bring it up there. So let's just say I want to look at stocks as well. You can open that up and do that. Beforehand, you'd need to have it in your dock or something for you to be able to see it. So it's just, great. The multitasking experience on this is definitely exceeding my expectations. And I do think this is a great device for on-the-go multitasking. And honestly, I can very much so see myself using this on the go a lot. Moving on, let me talk about the camera. So the cameras are actually highly underrated. The changes are incredibly massive. Let me go ahead and start off with just one of the biggest ones, which is the improvements to the sensors. And oh my God, is it a big change. So here's a photo I took of myself on this iPad right now. So this is a normal photo from the front facing camera. I'm going to put it up on the screen, of course, for you guys to take a better look. But then I hit the ultra wide mode on it, which there is now an ultra wide mode. So if I flip the camera over, you guys can watch right now. This is what you're seeing. The second I tap this, it goes, oh, I didn't tap it. Let me go ahead and actually tap that. You can just see how much more comes into the frame. You can see my light over here. You can see the tip of my head. It's just insane. So let me just go ahead and turn on my screen recording to show you guys what it looks like when I'm actually talking. So you guys can see right now, I'm right here, and how much is in the frame right here. Like, I have my hand fully extended, and it's all still in frame. And this is the normal mode. So that's how much of a difference there is. I just completely forgot that there was such a big field of view camera on this, and it is absolutely fantastic. And that actually helps segueing into my next thing, which is the center stage feature. So the iPad now has center stage, which looks like this. So when you open up a video calling app, what will happen is it will now center you regardless of where you are, and it'll find you and kind of use that ultra wide angle to let you move around in the space but still keep you centered. Now, of course, it looks like I'm not centered because there's obviously this Apple thing, the FaceTime login page here. But once this is gone, it will be absolutely centered, and that looks perfect. I love this feature on the iPad because it just gives you so much flexibility, and it allows you to kind of have your camera any angle you want it, but you still look like you're centered in it, which is a great addition to have. Not only that, but a major thing about these iPads is that the cameras are on the right side right here. So when you have it right in front of you, say you're taking a video call, the natural position is for you to have it in front of you. But when that's the case, what happens is I'll just open up the camera and flip over to the front screen. You guys can see I'm all the way to this side now. But if you're on a video call, you'd preferably want to be centered like this, which means that you have to move your iPad all the way to the right, which is an annoyance. I have that same problem with my iPad Pro. So what I'd do was, but this was the previous generation, I'd always have to keep it to the right of me so that I was centered in the camera. Now with center stage, you don't have to worry about that because it brings you into the center regardless of where the iPad is, which is a fantastic feature. The rear camera, also a big improvement. I'll put up just a comparison between the iPad Mini 5's rear camera and this, and the front camera as well. You guys will be shocked as to how big the difference is. It truly is. This iPad is a big change in terms of camera. And display-wise, the display is really nice. As I said, this is a 60 hertz display. It's a slightly higher than 1080p resolution, but it looks sharp. It's got 326 ppi. The display is great in every fashion. The one thing I'm not that impressed by, though, are the speakers, to be honest. They're not bad. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad. The problem is I really did expect them to be just louder. And also, I was a little bit misled by the 4 speaker grills. I thought this was a stereo setup with speakers coming from all 4 of these. But actually, in reality, only this one and this one down here are speakers. These two are not. And I played music and I kept it up to my ear and checked. That's when I figured out that, oh no, these two are just not doing anything. So these are most likely microphone cutouts, but I have no idea why microphone cutouts are this big and this prominent. I would have guessed it's for symmetrical, things, just because Apple is, big into the, design stuff. But then on the top, this isn't symmetrical. If you just want to make it symmetrical, why not have the same number of cutouts on this side as you do this side? So weird stuff going on here. I don't get it. but the speakers are a little bit, the only thing, the quality of them is fantastic. I just wish they got a little bit louder. They're definitely louder than the older Mini, but I just wish they were a little bit louder. But it is nice to have stereo speakers. It is absolutely a great addition. I do love having audio just being, it does feel way more premium than having just audio coming from one speaker. So the entertainment experience of this, I think, is going to be great. But more so, I think this machine is going to be just your pocketable power where you can kind of be on the go and use this everywhere. This is something I would absolutely carry day to day. Like, I would not mind carrying this everywhere I went, just to like have it in case I wanted to use it. And this is absolutely going to be great for games too. I'm not a big gamer on my tablet, but I know a lot of people love to play games on their tablet. So imagine being able to just carry this everywhere, and say you have a couple minutes free, just pull this out, play your game or do something, and put it right back. So overall, I am very, very happy with this iPad mini. The only two things, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of was just the slightly quieter speaker, and most importantly, the storage option pricing. It does definitely feel like they're gouging you there. Going from 64 to 256 without the 128 GB option, and also the fact that it starts at $500 and then goes to $650 if you want the higher storage config. It does feel very scummy to me, and I'm not happy about that. But and just a couple after I've used this for a while and got used to the color, I really love this color, and I'm so happy I went with purple instead of Starlight. This color is definitely, like, you have to know it's purple to know it's purple kind of color. I really like this, and I'm very, very happy so far. But I will be using this continuously and give you guys a full review on what I think of the iPad Mini 6 in the upcoming week. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more iPad content. And if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the description. I have the links to this iPad and a bunch more iPad accessories as well. Linked down in the description. So if you want to check these out, go ahead, check them out. It really does help the channel, so I would appreciate if you guys could do that. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow me on social media. I'll have all the links right here on the screen, and of course, linked down in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.